Hello, 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 and welcome to the Magic of Strategy. I'm your host, Karen Hewitt, and this is all about that little magical thing that we all need in business, and it's strategy, and it takes on so many different ways, so many different forms that we really need to talk about how it impacts our business and how we can take ourselves from being someone who's maybe trying and not getting what we want to having long-term success without the stress. Now, I have a guest on my show today, and I just want to give you a little bit of hints about her, and then she's going to introduce herself because she's fabulous. I actually met her while she was giving a keynote at a conference, and I was listening, and I'm like, this lady is making a lot of sense. She knows this business. She's been doing these businesses in many different formats for a very long time and has seen the world in this. And I'm like, I need her. She has to be on this podcast because what she has for you is incredibly valuable. So I want to welcome Carey Conley. Hi, Carey. How are you?
Doing great, Karen. Thank you for having me on. This is fun already.
So give us a little bit about your history and tell us what it is that you are most proud of
Hmm.
in your business journey.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been an entrepreneur for well over 30 years now. And I became an entrepreneur in my late 20s, Karen, because I was doing what we were all told to do, which was get the college degree, go to work for a company, work your way up the ranks, right? This was the late 80s. So this is what we all did. And everybody in my world was doing that very successfully. And I was changing jobs every 2 years because I just couldn't find the right job. Right. And so I had a mentor come into my life who sat me down, and I was telling her how frustrated I was and how frustrated my family was that I just couldn't fit this mold. And she said to me the magic words that I'll never forget. She said, Carrie, you can create your life to look however you want it to look. You have to just get really clear on what that is. And so she encouraged me to sit down and write out in detail what I wanted my life to look like. My relationship with my husband, what kind of mom I wanted to be, where we were living. I knew then, Karen, that I wanted to become an entrepreneur so that I could work from home while we were having our kids. So I wrote things like residual income, earn trips, be with a really great company. It has great leaders. No idea what it was going to be. And then, a year later or so, I got introduced to the industry of network marketing and jumped all in because it checked all the boxes. Right. So I did that for 20 some years. And then 10 years ago, I stepped into teaching other people how to write this vision, and became a coach, a speaker and a coach. And I now also have my own podcast. So I've run two businesses for the past 30 years. It's been pretty fun. And I've learned a lot from coaching a lot of people.
I think you said a couple of the very magical words, and this is why entrepreneurs do game business because the schedule, the system, or the process of what we would call a typical 9 to 5 or a typical job world doesn't align with the things that they find important in their life.
Right.
For me, it was family. I had kids, and it was going to cost me
Right.
more to put my kids in daycare than I could feasibly earn at a full-time job. And
Sure.
I didn't want to be away from them for 50 hours a week and take $20 and put that in my pocket.
Right.
It made no sense.
Right.
So you talked here about, the vision and the writing it down. And this is what you were talking about in that keynote that I mentioned earlier. And I think this is a major skill that many entrepreneurs they lack. And it's because I've seen it. I've seen it all. Hey, cut out pictures of the magazine and throw them on the board. And they do that and they never look at it again. Or they have no idea what the process was behind it. Or it's okay, just get through today. Just get through today. And there's no direction.
Right.
Where do we start in understanding what we need to have in our life? What's that first step?
Yeah. So yes, I love vision boards. They're beautiful. I've always had one. But the disconnect is that people have the dream, but they don't have the action behind it to get there. That's the disconnect. Most especially for entrepreneurs that are running a business like in network marketing, is very common that it's a side hustle, right? So what I tell people is this. So when I talk about writing the vision, and I've walked several thousands of people through this exercise like you did at the conference that I was at, I get people to think specifically with a time frame, 3 years out. So I ask them to when they get ready to sit down and write their vision, to date it at the top as if it's 3 years from that day, and then to write out how old they will be, how old their family members will be, anybody that's important in their life. And the reason I get people to do that, Karen, is because time and aging is non-negotiable, right? Time's gonna pass. You're gonna be 3 years older, God willing. So it scares people, I think, when I get them to think about that because they're thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much coming. Especially if you have kids, you can see a big life shift happening about every 3 to 5 years, right? So so I'm gonna use myself as an example. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Please
Okay.
do.
So when I jumped into network marketing, I had a son who was 2. I was still working full time. So he was in daycare and I hated it. And I was 5 months pregnant. And so when I jumped into this company, I had a timeline that was non-negotiable. And my timeline was to get to the first level in that company before the baby was born in 3 months. Because I knew from my upline how much money I would be bringing in from the company at that level so that I could quit my job, stop paying daycare, right? Because that was money back in the bank, and stay home. So they gave me the activity that I had to follow. So every business is mathematical. It's all math. They said, if you want to get to this level, this is how many people you need to share our product with every month, every week, every day. It's not rocket science, Karen. It's just math, right? And so because I had that non-negotiable target, I followed the math and hit it. And the disconnect for most entrepreneurs is they don't have those dates on things. They're playing with it every month.
Yeah. I love one of the things you said. It's like they have this dream, but they don't have the action.
Right.
It's I'm talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of people in network marketing. The big thing they talk about is the law of attraction. I will it, so it must be. And I always say, well, do you realize what the last part of the word of attraction is? It's action.
Action. Yes.
It's like you could attract, but you have to have the action to
Right.
attract.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's a huge disconnect. And I love what you said about it being all math. And speaking to the network marketers that are listening to this podcast today, we you join it and you think you like, okay, side hustle, little extra money. And a lot of people in the industry, what they don't do is they don't teach you to look at it as a full business.
Yes.
And you have this opportunity for full business with tax benefits, with work benefits, with system benefits, and you can turn it into a fully fledged, almost like a franchise. Think of it more like a franchise than a network marketing. And so I love that. See, 3 months, obviously you hit that goal. That little darling didn't have to go to daycare. We've written it down 3 years from now. 3 years from now, my oldest son, he'll be driving. Scary thought, but so you've got this down. You're establishing what is happening.
Mm.
What's the next step that we need to take? Because we're all terrified. We're looking at this and going, oh my gosh, gray hair, kids driving, someone going to school, all these different things. What's the next thing we do? Now we're scared.
Now we're scared. Well, so one, the only reason that you are fearful is first thing is it shocks me how many people, Karen, when I ask them, do you understand your compensation plan? Do you understand? Do you know what average income is going to be at each rank so that you know, okay, when I get there, I can be expecting this. And when do you want to be there by? So my next goal, once I hit the first rank, I wanted to get to the next rank so that we could start funding the private school we wanted to put our kids in. We knew how much the school was going to cost, and I knew what it was going to take to get to that level. Same thing with my speaking and coaching business, Karen. It's all math. I knew when I started speaking and coaching, how many people do I need to speak to every month? How many phone calls do I need to convert them into a client? There's no there's no mystery to it. And I think what people fear is the not knowing what they don't know. I had to get educated. So when I started in my company, which is Arbonne, by the way, I sat down with the one and only Mercedes driving VP in the state of Colorado at that point and said, tell me what you did to get where you are and I'll follow your math. Right. So I took all the fear out of it. it's not about you. It was about me just doing the math every day. So you just have to kind of address, okay, what's the fear? The second thing is that most people look at that and go, wow, okay, so when I start talking about the math and the action, Karen, I can see them like literally gulp, right? Like I actually have to do this. Like, yes, you do. It's just a matter of, and here's the thing. I would coach a lot of people and I would walk them through all of these obstacles, but they still wouldn't do it. And I would have to just have a come to Jesus moment with them and say, look, this is your life, your business. If you are okay with you running it like a hobby, great,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Just yeah,
Yeah, it's I tell leaders all this time is if you want it to be a business, treat it like a business. But if you have people who want it to be a hobby, let them have the hobby.
right.
This is and this goes for any business. It doesn't matter what business you're in. I know this is a very typical network marketing industry, but if you're a coach and you're coaching someone who wants to be a coach, but they're doing it so they can pay for certain things and not take over as a full-time job. Don't push them to be full-time if they're not ready.
Right.
That's not your choice, that's theirs.
Exactly.
And I love how you talk about math, and I'm going to throw this one at you right now because I think this is a common problem in all industries.
Yes.
We're talking about the math, we're talking about knowing how many people it talks to, we're talking about knowing what we're doing. The amount of people and small business entrepreneurs, people in network marketing, speakers, coaches, authors, all of these, that when I say, well, how are you tracking it? What's your CRM? They look at me like I have just lost my mind and I am speaking a whole different language. And we have to go into, okay, so you don't have a system where you put everyone you speak to so you know where you're at in that process. And
Mm.
they're like, I just have to try and remember to connect back with them on Facebook. Are you also seeing that when people come to you for the coaching that they're not, and what things do you tell them to use to track?
Oh, tool wise, I really tell them like, I don't care what tools you use, but you've got to have a system of some sort, right? And now more than ever, okay, so back in the day, Karen, so go back now. I started in Arbonne in 1993. Okay. So there wasn't all the apps and all the stuff.
Hmm.
So it was a physical tallying on paper for us. I used to meet with my team every Saturday morning for accountability, and they would have to talk about the math that we would follow was to get in front of 8 to 10 people every single week, right? Did you do that? And it was either a yes or a no. What moved? Where did they move? Did they say no? Did they say, yes, I'll host? Yes, I'll join it was just a matter of having some sort of a way that you were doing your follow up, however works for you.
Yeah.
Right. And it
So it's
doesn't have
follow up.
rocket science.
Yeah.
It's
It's follow up and I'm hearing having micro goals
yeah,
because the biggest, another one is this is why it's magical because the things that we teach are so simple that if
yes,
you put these little tiny steps in place, it can transform your business. And I want to be a six-figure earner. I want to have a book on the New York best-selling list. I want to speak to a 10,000 person audience.
yeah,
I want to open three locations. And that's the only goal that they have on their vision board.
right.
How would you say to break that down to have that on their visions, to have that on the systems? Because we talk 3 years in advance. What do they do now? I mean, how do they get there?
Yeah. So once we've got the 3-year vision, we're really clear in as much detail as possible what life we're creating, who we want to become. I wrote a lot about the person that I wanted to become, the kind of mom I wanted to be, the values that I wanted to instill in my kids, the leader I wanted to be. So there was a lot of that of who I was becoming. So, and when I get people to write their 3-year vision, I tell them 2 rules, Karen. One, don't leave anything out because you think it's just preposterous based on where you are right now. If it's a dream and a desire you have, it's there for a reason. Everything gets written down. And the second thing is to write it in a very positive, affirming way. So stop using words like I'm trying, I'm hoping, it's words like I will, we've done, we're doing. The next thing we have to do, and this is where the coaching came in, where I coach people, is once I know their 3-year vision, we now reverse engineer the plan. So if this is where we're going to be in 3 years, let's talk about some really solid 1-year goals in every area of your life. And I'm sure everybody knows the acronym SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable numbers, attainable. Does it align? Attainable to me, does it align with your true vision? Relevant, and do we have a timetable on it? Right. So now we've got some solid 1 year goals, and we break the 1 year goals into 6 months. And then we take the 6 months down into 90 days, which is most successful people just get to the 90-day mark and just that's what they focus on every quarter is what am I going to get to in the next 90 days that's going to move this forward. So once I knew that, I knew every month what numbers I needed to hit, which told me again how many people I needed to be in front of every week, which then went down to how many people do I need to talk to every single day. So it wasn't a big number. For me, it was reaching out to 3 to 5 people a day. Right. Didn't take me a lot of time because I followed the system. I followed what our income producing activity was. That's another key thing. But the big word here is I was consistent, Karen. There were days that I didn't feel like doing it. I did it anyway. Because the vision of what I wanted for my family was bigger than whatever head trash I was going through that day. Right. So yeah,
I, I think that vision piece is the biggest part because most people, when you have a conversation, they're not, I know nowadays, a lot of people aren't even sure who they are right now, let alone who they want to be.
right.
And digging down and really thinking about that is going to fuel a lot of you to
Right.
hit things that you never realized you could do before.
Right. And personally grow, so much of when you are running a business is personal growth, and it's painful. I mean, I went through a lot of stuff, losing teams, rebuilding teams. My family was not a fan of me doing network marketing at all. Shifting my schedule with the kids' schedule was a time management skill I learned really early on. I learned how to time block like nobody's business. Then dealing with a lot of adversity. So you heard me share when I did our keynote that I've been through a lot of tough stuff, a lot of loss. The woman who brought me into Arbonne died unexpectedly, just hit the floor one night, and that was it. In the past 10 years, I've lost both my husband and my son to suicide 3 years apart. And so when I hear people talk about their inconsistency in their business because of life, I can address that and tell them, you know what, I get it. And the reason I keep doing what I'm doing now, because that's the biggest question most people ask me when they learn about my loss. The biggest reason I keep doing what I'm doing now is people need vision now more than ever. Right. So I know what my calling is and why I'm here. And even on the days that I don't want to do it, Karen, I do it anyway, because it's bigger than me and how I'm feeling that day. Because I get reminded every single day that what I'm doing is here for a big reason. It's to help other people heal. It's a huge calling.
And you, I knew when I saw you speaking on that stage that, okay, this is somebody with a message that more people need to hear. And every person that hears this about that consistency, that passion, that purpose, that having that vision, if you could take just 10% of what's being said here today and implement that, you're going to see a difference.
Yes.
If you take 50%, well, you know what, that difference is going to be a lot more. And if you go, no, I'm putting that line down today and I will be consistent. So I'll do this every day. I will track my numbers. I will have my vision. I'll break it for my 3 year, my 1 year, my 6 months, my 90 days. You're not going to recognize yourself.
Right.
And I pretty much, from everything I've ever seen when someone does this kind of layout, if I turn around to you and say, okay, it's been 3 years, are you that person that you wrote down on that piece of paper? You know what people tell me? I've heard people say to me when I've said, well, it's been 4 years of you, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever their goal was, and they've consistently worked and put that energy in, they always tell me no. You know why? I was that person a year ago.
Mm.
I'm now more today.
Yeah.
They surpass it.
Yeah. This is
And
true.
they never saw it coming. They never saw that being at even a higher level of themselves, whether it be peace in their mind, or connections with their family or with their business. And it's like, no, I was there a year ago, I was there 6 months ago. But that consistent work will take you along that road.
Right.
There is one more thing I want to ask you about because you said it, and then we'll recap. And I know you have a little special something for people. You talked about income producing activities, and I wanted to bring it up because I look at a lot of people when we talk about business, and half the things they're doing that it's
Doesn't
not,
work.
it doesn't work. So when you say income producing activities, give us an idea of how they should be breaking down their focus when you're talking about numbers.
Sure. So I'm sure in your company, Karen, you guys have a system in place that works if people follow it to the T, right?
Mhm.
So my system back in the day, this was again, early 90s, we were doing skincare parties, Karen, where you literally would get 5 to 7 women around a dining room table, and I would have them do facials on themselves, right? So my math was to do 2 of those a week. 2 parties a week, 2 parties a week, 2 parties a week, because remember, I was told the magic number was to share my company with 5 to 10 people every week, right?
Mhm.
That's scary for some people to think about, that level of activity, that level of keeping your calendar full, the phone calling, booking. I would book 2 more parties out of every party I did. That was part of the system. But it would scare some people to do that. And they would say, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold an open house, and I'm going to go around my neighborhood and put flyers on the door, and then people will come.
Mhm.
No, they won't, because I tried it. So you just have to, and I know why people do that, Karen. It's because they fear getting out there and actually talking to people. And they also fear what people are going to think. They're going to fear, what is this? What if this actually works? There is the fear
Yeah.
of success as well, right? So
Yeah.
you have to plug into, like I told you, I reached out to the one and only Mercedes driving VP in the state of Colorado at the time and said, tell me what you're doing and I'm going to do it. Because
Mhm.
she obviously she was where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So we just can't deviate from the system, especially in network marketing.
And even in business yourself, if you're a coach,
Yes.
you can't spend your time going, well, I'm going to spend the next 3 hours creating a video that I'm now going to edit perfectly to put online in hopes that have conversations, talk. It's like we have if you're an author, well, I know I'm supposed to write 10,000 words this week, but instead I'm going to go and pick out colors for the font for my book. There's no point doing that until you have your book.
Yeah.
Think about what's
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, think about what is actually going to move you towards the goal. You can make it pretty later.
Right. Yeah. Same thing in the speaking and coaching world, Karen. So 2 things I'm
Yeah.
going to talk about that you brought up. One, most of the speakers that I know are doing, pushing out social media here and there. They're not consistent with the strategy around that either. Calling themselves a speaker, but not doing the reach out activities to get those opportunities. They just feel like, well, I just figured if I told people I was speaking and I had a story, they'd start knocking on my door. Oh my word. Can I just tell you, this speaker world, everybody's a speaker. So if you're waiting for the door knock, it's not going to happen
Yeah.
without the activity, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, people tell me they want to speak on my podcast. And I go, great, send me your one sheet. My what?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So there's that. And then there's also doing the right things in the wrong timeline. So you're talking about a book.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of speakers and coaches that I coach come to me and say, I'm super excited because I'm working on my book. And I'm like, that's great. But how many clients do you have right now that are paying you? They're like, well, I figured if I get the book out, then people see me. I'm like, no. So timeline, I have 2 books. But first thing I want to tell you is I did not have a website for the first year of my coaching and speaking business. I brought in paying clients because I was out networking and having phone calls with people and doing workshops
Hmm.
because I needed to prove that what I had, people would buy. So then we finally went, okay, we figured out my brand. Let's put a website up. Great. And then it wasn't 2 years until I wrote my first book, which I'm going to give your listeners today, which is my workbook, Vision is Victory. So it's a timeline thing. So
Yeah.
you're doing possibly the right things, but in the wrong order. And this is where people get frustrated because they're not making money. As a matter of fact, they're spending a lot of money, getting very burned out, and probably at this point, their families are begging them to stop.
And if they're spending money on the wrong things.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer, and when my business took off and I got to be top 2% of my company when I was doing that, and then started to branch out. One of the biggest things I did was I started getting coached professionally
Yeah.
because I can't see my own downsides myself
Right.
because you put blinkers on. No one tell me that, oh no, I see. Oh, no, you don't. Sometimes it takes someone else to go, sweetie, do you
Yes.
know you're doing this?
Yeah. I had a lot of those people too.
Yeah. Work on your personal development, work on your systems, work on your strategy, get coached. And I'll tell you, the biggest people in the world, these huge entrepreneurs, they have coaches, and
Always.
they will tell you that they have coaches. And some of them have 8 or 9 because, well, I have one for my health, I have one for my diet, I have one for my fitness, I have one for my business, I have one for my finances, I have one for how I look,
Yes.
because they want to make sure that they're doing the best they can.
Right.
I really appreciate that you're giving details on your book free to listeners. That is amazing that you're willing to do that. Why don't you tell us, as we close out, a little bit about where they can find you, how you can help serve them, and a little bit about your gift? Because I would love to send people over to you because I think you're phenomenal, and vision is such a important and missing piece in strategy in near enough every single business owner I ever come across.
Well, it's the foundation of everything else. You can't set goals without a big vision. So, and you can't push through all the hard stuff and become the person that you want to become without a vision that's going to pull you through it every day. So what I mentioned is my first book. It's called Vision is Victory. It's literally a workbook that helps people write their vision down, identify the obstacles, how to get over them. It's called Vision is Victory, and it's a free downloadable book. And I know that you're going to give everybody the link to that. So thank you for that. And so you can find me everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and my podcast, which is called Mental Health Breakthroughs for Young Adults and Families. And everything you can find on my website, obviously, was just careyconley.com. So thank you for asking. I do workshops on a regular basis. So
Wonderful. Oh my God. It has been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, saw you speak. I knew we had to share this message. I knew it was an important piece of strategy that a lot of people miss. So I'm very grateful for you coming on. To recap real quick, make sure you download the workbook because guess what? You're going to need it. You want to have a strong vision because that is going to give you strong goals, which will help you develop a strong strategy, and it will get you from A to B. And you won't be doing this AZEIK journey. You'll be step by step.
yes,
Really get deep on that 3-year vision. Who are you? What's important to you? What's it like around you? Get really deep on that, really figure out and put the ugly stuff there too, because you know what? Sometimes that ugly stuff helps push us to do even better.
right.
And then, as Carey said, reverse engineer. Well, if I'm going to be here in 3 years, where do I need to be at 1 year? Where do I need to be in 6 months? Where do I need to be in 90 days? And it isn't well, in 1 year, I need to be a third of the way to my goal. That's not exactly how it works because it is like almost like a roller coaster. It has this upward swing, and you will have a couple of loop-de-loops, but if you have that strong vision, you can keep going on the upwards track instead of the swinging everywhere.
Right.
And I will be putting the book in the show notes and on all social media when we share everything from this podcast. Thank you so much, Carey. It has been an absolute pleasure. I have loved talking to you. Everyone, put something that you've learned today in the comments when you see it on social media. Tell us one of your biggest takeaways, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us those thumbs up.
Thanks for
Talk
having
to you
me.
next time. Oh, you're welcome. So glad to have you here.